So again, thank you all for attending to Ignite. Congratulations to all who have been admitted to UIC. We're very, very happy and proud of all of you on your acceptance. So again, this is the LES session for the humanities. And today you are going to be having the opportunity to meet with our lovely professors here from our from various departments, and also an amazing student leader, and he'll also share his experiences as a UIC student. So we're actually going to have some brief introductions, and then after those introductions, we'll have our faculty members present material based on their department. So my name is Priscilla Gonzalez-Ortiz. I'm the college recruiter here for the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, and I'm going to be the host for this session. And then here today, we have our lovely professors, Professor Schultz, Professor Reams, and also Professor Hall here with us, and then also our amazing student leader, Ricky. So we can actually start where I see the professors from my side. So Professor Schultz, you'll be the first one up.
All right, well, let me say greetings to everybody and thanks for joining us today. My name is Kevin Schultz, and I am lucky enough to be the chair of the history department here at UIC, where we study all things in the past, history, study of the past. I'm going to share my screen because I put together a little presentation for, do you want me to just introduce, or am I doing my whole thing? What do you think, Priscilla?
We could probably first do introductions for everyone, and then once everybody's done, then you could take it away from there.
All right, that's me. I'm Professor Schultz, chair of history.
And then whoever wants to go next.
I can go next. Hi, everybody. I'm Professor Robin Reams. I'm in the English department. I'm also the director of undergraduate studies there. And I teach mostly classes in rhetoric and the history of rhetoric. So we do a lot of things in the past because the past is still very much alive for us at UIC. Yay. And so I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about some of the special things that we have in the English department that I think sets us apart. But you'll find in this presentation today that LAS is a really exciting place to be at UIC. We've got some of I think the most talented and brightest students on the campus.
Yeah, I just want to second that, what Professor Reams just said. My name is Professor Sarah Hall, and I am a professor in the German department within the School of Literature's Cultural Studies and Linguistics. I actually work and teach in film studies and the history of film, so a lot about the past of the media that we are all consuming so aggressively while we're watching Netflix at home during the pandemic. So I will be talking to you about the languages that are offered at UIC, the different majors and minors that can evolve out of the study of languages, and opportunities that students have that cross between disciplines, but that are grounded in what you gain by getting that foundation in languages as part of your liberal education in the College of LAS.
Thank you. And Ricky?
Yes, sorry. Hello, everyone. My name is Ricardo, but you could also call me Ricky. I'm an English student with a concentration in creative writing, and this is my first year at UIC, well, my second semester at UIC, and I'm here to share my experiences about being a student at LAS and a student of the English department. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And then before Professor Schultz starts his presentation, in the chat box below, I did add that we do have closed captioning available. So if you need closed captioning, that by clicking the CC button in your Zoom taskbar. So thank you.
Do you want me to start, or did you want Robin to start? How'd you want it to go?
Whoever wants to start first.
Well, you had told Robin she was going to go first, so I'm happy to let her go first, or I can jump in, whichever way.
I can go. I'll go. That's fine. Yeah. Let me just share my screen really quickly. Let's see. Oops, sorry, I've got the wrong, I'm sharing the wrong screen. One second. You would think I've gotten really good at this being the third semester of nonstop screen sharing. Okay, hi everybody, I'm Professor Reams, as I just said. I'm in the English department, and I'm gonna share with you the question that every English major hates getting, which is, what can you do with that? It's a kind of common question that our students get from their parents largely, who want to see their children major in a discipline that sounds like a job, and English doesn't always sound like a job. But what I want to share with you is some of the amazing and surprising aspects and benefits to being an English major that might not be obvious. So the first thing I just wanted to say is that one of the kind of special things about being an English major, and really any major in any of the humanities, is that you're educating your whole self and your whole person, and that means you're training yourself to think in a new and a different way about the world, and you can bring that education to any number of careers. So whereas if you major in something say nursing or marketing, you're really being trained for one career only. But training in the humanities in general, and training in English in particular, is being trained for any number of things. And in English in particular, you gain a really sensitive awareness and understanding and power to wield language and to understand how language works. And that can be applied in any number of contexts. It's also just a kind of fundamentally pleasurable major. What we do in English is we get absorbed in a world of words, and we become kind of expert facilitators of the use of language. I think that's one of the reasons that there's so many illustrious alumni who were English majors. The people I've listed here: Barack Obama, Steven Spielberg, Sally Ride, Emma Watson, Lena Dunham, John Legend, Michael Eisner, all of these people who went on to do these amazing things in history and in culture studied English. They studied how stories work. They studied how language work, and it gave them an ability to kind of apply those skills and apply their whole person to an array of activities. One of the kind of major misconceptions about English is, oh, you're going to work in a coffee shop when you graduate. Is it something that people like to say to English majors? But the truth is, English majors do really, really well on the job market immediately upon graduation and over the course of their careers. Studies have found that they're fully employed at graduation at rates that are higher than some of those majors that kind of correspond directly. The name of the major corresponds directly to a career. And they do really well over time in terms of things like rates of promotion and receiving raises. And I think one of the reasons for that is they have this kind of flexible, creative way of thinking and this ability to communicate really well, which are kind of foundational load-bearing skills, no matter what you decide to do beyond graduation. English majors do really, really well on other kinds of metrics like standardized tests for various graduate programs, not just in English, but also in business and even in medicine. There's a very high rate of doctors who were English majors, believe it or not. And this is borne out as national trends, but also just in our own alumni who we track in the department. So I want to offer you some answers to that question. What can you do with that? One thing you can do is you can think outside the border. And I mean this in multiple ways. Here in this slide, I'm wanting to highlight some of the special offerings that we have, particularly in Latinx studies, but we also have a vibrant array of offerings in Asian American film and cinema and literature, also Black studies, African American literature. We don't just read, as we were just talking with Ricky, we don't only read Chaucer and Milton, although we do read Chaucer and Milton, we read numerous things as well, and we see how these different linguistic and intellectual traditions link up with one another in a kind of global way from an array of global perspectives. And one of the reasons I wanted to highlight our offerings in Latinx studies in particular is because we have some of the world's leading kind of thinkers and writers in those traditions, not only the Pulitzer finalist Luis Urrea, but also our National Book Award winner, the poet Daniel Borzetsky, and the rhetoric scholar Ralph Cintron, who does work with undocumented peoples here in Chicago and nationally. So you have the opportunity to take kind of an array of courses that don't just fit within what might be more familiar as sort of like English literature or American literature. We do a number of things that kind of fall outside of the bounds of what might count as English in a high school curriculum. In addition, you can do your own thing. A lot of people think of undergraduate research as something that's sort of reserved for kind of like elite private East Coast small liberal arts schools. That's not the case here at UIC. In our English department, we have a really active and vibrant and hands-on approach to undergraduate research. Just as a kind of illustration, I have taught an independent study every single semester that I have been at UIC for the 9 years that I've been at UIC. Students are really excited about pursuing their own independent research projects. And usually it just happens by something kind of lights a fire in you. You read Milton, Ricky, and you're like, I never knew there was so much going on here. I want to keep going with this. There's not a class offered on that next semester, so I'm going to design an independent study. The professors in the English department love doing this, and you'll find that there's an open door for you with really every professor you take in the English department who wants to see you pursue your own interests. You can write like a boss, and by that I mean we have, in addition to all of our offerings in literature, we also have an enormous concentration and minor in professional writing that trains you in skills like verbal communication, writing and editing, publishing, information processing, problem solving, persuasive reasoning, so that really no matter where your own intellectual and academic interests evolve, you can still kind of learn how to think about channeling those and funneling those into practical professional writing skills or writing in profession and communicating in professional contexts, which also includes, we have an internship program. You can get to work. Literally, you can actually get a job through our internship program where you learn how to apply what you're learning in your English curriculum in those professional contexts. And right now we actually have a really exciting new program that one of our professors, Professor Rachel Haverlock, who is a kind of nationally and internationally known Bible scholar, but who is also extremely invested in environmentalism and water activism in the Great Lakes region. She's designed a string of courses that she's called the Freshwater Lab. One recent iteration is grant funded such that students who enroll in that class will be placed in a paid internship working on water activism issues in the Great Lakes region. It's kind of a fantastic opportunity for students. In both of these cases, we found that students who take advantage of our internship opportunities often end up in their first job after graduation in something related to either the company they interned for or someone they met by networking through that internship opportunity. So it's just a fantastic way to think about how that training I was talking about, that training of the whole person, is ultimately a kind of highly practical and employable skill. You can stand out. We have over 15 significant cash and scholarship prizes that we award every single year to our majors. You can submit your creative and your critical work and be awarded with cash prizes for that. But we also have fellowships and scholarships of up to $10,000 and even in some cases full tuition that we award every single year. One of the reasons I think we're so well endowed in this regard is we have so many alumni who go on after they study English to have such successful and substantial careers, and they look back and they see the value that they gained from studying English, and they want to pay that to the future. They want to pay that to our students now to give them the kinds of opportunities that would lead to those same kinds of successes. This photo right here is one of our students from 2 years ago, Leah Summer. She was actually the state of Illinois' Lincoln Laureate. It's a very coveted and highly prestigious award. And she's there in Springfield with one of our professors, Natasha Barnes, receiving her much deserved recognition. We also have an English education program where you can learn to shape the future. We have really the premier English education program in the city of Chicago. The city of Chicago's CPS English teachers are by and large UIC graduates. And it's a very popular, but also very rigorous and very well-respected program in English education if what you see in your future is a future of teaching. And finally, I just want to highlight for you, as you're thinking about possibly enrolling in UIC, I want to highlight for you some of the opportunities that we have at the 100 level, some of our kind of entry level course offerings for the fall. We've got a really popular course in Latinx literature that's taught by, who I was mentioning, the National Book Award winning poet, Daniel Borzetsky. We have a couple of sections of the kind of traditional Shakespeare classes, which is a hugely popular class on this campus. Believe it or not, it fills every semester. I mean, maybe that's just more surprising to me than to you, but it's a way of studying Shakespeare from not your average or typical perspectives. We have courses in English and American drama, post-colonial literature, tough girls in American literature, gender and sexuality. And in addition to these, there are a numerous array of other courses that you can choose from to study all manner of things related to this, the study of English. So the thing I always like to tell students is it really isn't, in majoring in English isn't a question of what you can do with an English major, it's what you can't do. The opportunities are really endless. If any of you has any questions or you want some kind of follow-up information, you can reach me. That english@uic.edu goes to my office. It goes to the Office of Undergraduate Studies. So it's, you can get in touch with me and my assistant, Kate Boulet, and we can figure out how to put you in touch with any of the professors in the department who might be able to you might be able to connect with to see what kinds of things you're able to study. I always love to hear from students. So don't be shy and feel free to reach out. And finally, just congratulations for being admitted to UIC. I think UIC is a really exciting place to study. It's an exciting place to be. So yeah, feel free to reach out. I'd love to hear from you.
Thank you, Professor Reams. Thank you. And then whoever wants to go next, Professor Schultz, Professor Hall, whoever.
Yeah, you had me going second, so I will go second.
Beautiful.
And it's both always awesome to follow Professor Reams and a little bit intimidating because she always does such a good job. But again, welcome to everybody and congratulations. I've taught enough classes that I know the chat is where it's at. So I'm putting a bunch of links up there for you to follow for the Department of History. Kevin Schultz, that's me. Send me an email, ask me a question, anything you want to know. My primary interest is in your success. So even if it's not history related, I can send you to where you need to go. And then I have a list there, just our homepage for our department, the courses that we offer if you want to check them out, our major and how it's structured, and then a teaching of history program that we have, because basically we've got the premier pipeline for CPS. So we put all of our students that want to go teach social studies or history into schools in CPS, and we actually have internship programs and things like that. So that's a wildly successful program. So I put that link there as well. So that's the chat. I'm going to share my screen now. Let's see if I can do this properly. All right, there we go. And I will play mine. Boom. All right, Department of History features programs and reasons to be a major, a minor, or be just a friend of history, because we like friends. I'm Kevin Schultz. There's my email address again. And the first thing I want to say is history, of course, is the study of all things past. And we in the Department of History are, we like to think of ourselves, and I think there's truth to it, we're not your typical history program. And by that, I mean, I think a lot of students, I think history is ruined by a lot of teachers and people's impression of what history is, especially in like middle school and sometimes in high school, where it's just a bunch of names and dates that you have to remember. And there's a famous line that history is just one damn thing after another. And our department and our teachers do not engage in that. We do not believe in that kind of history. We define history kind of differently. We see our world today as existing in the way that it is because of how it got to where it is. So what are the forces that are going on that are shaping the world that we live in? What are the forces that are taking place that make the building look like the building, that make your path to UIC look like your path to UIC? There is a history to that. More than 50 years ago, UIC didn't exist, and someone like you would have gone somewhere else for college if you would have gone to college at all. So all these paths that we in life take for granted and see as commonsensical, they're not. They have a history. And learning the stories about how we came to be and why our world looks the way it is and why we today judge some things as good and some things as bad when people generations ago didn't do that, those are the questions that engage the historians in the Department of History. And that's the kind of experience you'll get when you take classes in history. So it's not just one damn thing after another, but it actually shapes our world, and we try and understand and explain why the world is the way it is. Professor Reams rightly hit on this question that I get all the time, and it kind of drives us nuts on the one hand, and it also is a marvelous opportunity, is what can you do with a history major? And usually it's dads, parents in general, grandparents, you should go into this because what can you do? And the answer to this question is, what can't you do with a history major? So, oh, look, oh, wow, I think I recognize that person. That's President Joe Biden. Guess what? History major at Research One Urban Public School. There we go. So if you want, you can be president of the United States with your history major. Lest you think all professors are Democrats. Oh, wait a minute. President George W. Bush, also a history major. I could go back throughout the 20th century and point to all the presidents that have been history majors. We'll let Robin have Barack Obama, but we'll take a whole bunch of other ones. So when you get asked, what can you be with your history major? You can say, I can be president of the United States, and actually point to dozens of people. Too many white dudes up there? Wait a minute. If you wanted to, you can also be a Supreme Court justice like Sonia Sotomayor, the first Latina to sit on the Supreme Court. There she is, also a history major. Wait, who else? Oh, Attorney General Eric Holder, the first African-American Attorney General. Yes, he too was a history major. Too many people in politics and law. Where are my business folks? Oh, wait a minute. Here are some business folks. Lee Iacocca, maybe the premier business person of the 20th century in the car industry. Yes, history major. BET founder and the first African-American billionaire. Think about that. The first African-American billionaire, Robert Johnson, history major. American business mogul, the head of HP, also a history major. Oh, you want to do something fun? We've got Martha Stewart under our ranks. All right, Snoop Dogg, I think he would have been a history major, but he didn't go to college. He went to Long Beach Poly down the street from where I grew up. He was actually really into acting and theater, so he might have gone on to theater, but I've listened to enough of his music that I'm pretty sure he would have been a history major, just like his friend Martha Stewart. How about The Office? I know you've all sat and watched The Office while you've been in quarantine. Yes, Steve Carell, history major, and Jimmy Buffett, just because he makes everybody feel happy, also a history major. So all these paths that you have in front of you, the question should be not what can you do with a history major, but what can't you do with the history major? And I'm going to talk a little bit about how our department actually shapes your history degree into a legitimate CV or a resume that you can one day put in front of an employer and say, I have excellent communication skills. I can do research of huge amounts of material and write it in a single page paper that is valuable to you. I can lead by presenting my work and my findings to you. I have all of these marvelous skills that I've learned as a history major. So you just don't say, I studied the past. You say, I have skills. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. Our program for undergraduates, just like all y'all, we have three sort of paths that you can come into and follow from the very beginning. One, I meant to put this up, but a huge number of our 100 and 200 level classes, sort of the introductory classes, almost every single one of them, but not every single one of them, but almost every single one of them will earn you general education credits. So if you want to major in something else, then come get your general education credits in history and you'll have this amazing experience. And then at the end of the semester, your instructor will very casually suggest that you take more history classes because you loved it and did so well in it. And so therefore you should maybe minor in it or maybe major in it. So that's one avenue for you. Please take our classes. We have amazing teachers. But majoring in history is a fantastic experience. There are certain requirements that we can go into in the Q&A if you want in order to get the major in history. It is a path, and you can focus on any region you want. If you want to study Asian history, or if you want to study Eastern European or Polish history, if you want to study African history, we have faculty who do all of those kinds of history. I myself study American history. We have 9 or 10 faculty who teach American history. We cross-list a lot of our classes with friends in Black studies, gender women's studies, many components of the school, which Professor Hall is going to talk about later. We have many avenues for whatever you're interested in. You can take many classes in your history major. You can also major in the teaching of history. So if your life calling is to be a teacher, like in some ways mine was to be, you can actually focus on that. That means you're basically going to take a bunch of history classes in the areas of history that you really like, but you're also going to learn a lot about the art of teaching and take specific classes in the art of teaching. And the great thing about that, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, is some of the classes we have, not only are they hands-on instruction, but we will actually put you in the classroom in a partner high school in CPS and have our advisors watch you instruct and guide you in teaching. And then we hope we can then place you as a teacher in one of the many CPS schools that we've partnered with. We, as Professor Reams mentioned about English, we have a very strong connection with the Chicago Public Schools, and also I should say with a lot of the Chicago suburban schools. So we basically have very successful placement for you undergraduates who want to go on into teaching. And then if you love history, but you can't get over your parents' insistence that you focus on something that is practical, we offer a minor in history as well. You can take by taking 5 or 6, depending on your path, classes, you will achieve a minor in history. And then when you go on the job market, you will not only have nourished your love of history, but you can also say you've developed these marvelous skills in communication, in research, in writing, in analytical thinking. So there are lots of paths, there are lots of ways for you to come into history and succeed. And again, the theme is not what can you do with history, but what can't you do with history? I want to emphasize that we have award-winning faculty teaching. As Professor Reams said about the English department, our faculty are award winners. We just got word that one of our faculty in Latinx history is a finalist for the Los Angeles Times Book Award for his most recent book. We have numerous faculty who have won numerous awards for their research, and then they bring that research into the classroom. I didn't want to get anybody's signature, so here's just a picture of me being very emotive with my hands, teaching on the Great Depression in a UIC setting. Our instructors get reviewed every single year and have sit downs with other award-winning faculty in a very collegial way. My point is our teachers are always improving. And just because somebody's won an award doesn't mean they know everything there is to know about teaching. We also emphasize at the end of the year, as Ricky might attest to, we send out reviews from the students. We want to hear what the students have to say about our performance, and we only ask 2 questions, and then we leave open space for students to say, this book was terrible, but I loved our discussion of whatever. And we dig down deep in how we can constantly improve our teaching. And so you will find a history class like any other that you've ever been in before. We also offer wide ranges of classes, not only topically, but thematically. If you want to know about the history of gender and the development of concepts of gender norms, if you want to learn about sexuality and how those norms have changed over time, if you want to learn Latinx history, if you want to learn African-American history, if you want to learn Japanese history, if you want to learn the history of migration, we've got classes in all of those subjects. If you want it, you will more than likely find it in history. And in the end, this is my last slide. I know we're always pushed for time in these things. I do want to say that we spend a lot of time not only nourishing your brain, but focusing on the things that happen after graduation. We've developed about 7 years ago, History 499, History Internship. So I have a picture of the Chicago History Museum up there. We have a partner with them and with dozens of other institutions around the Chicago area. And you can actually intern at these places under supervision of one of our faculty and get course credit. We sometimes can also offer summer internships that are paid, but we will always be able to offer course credit for summer internships. We will help you find placement. We will help you work with contacts in the Chicago area, and we will focus on helping you succeed in whatever venue it is that you want to go into afterwards. We also offer career guidance. We work with the Career Counseling Center here at UIC, which is truly an amazing place in general. That's not just history department wide, it's for all of UIC. But I will tell you that especially in this spring, I send constant notes out to the history majors, inviting them to send me their resumes, and I look over it and we fine tooth these things and we try and sit down with them and go through job ads with them and talk about how they can tailor the skills they've got as a history major in order to succeed in the job market, whether or not that means they're going to law school or they're going to serve. I'm just thinking of recent ones. They're going to work for WBEZ, the local NPR affiliate, or if they're going to work in the television industry. These are actual jobs with students that I've worked on this summer. Oh, the Peace Corps. I should mention one that goes into the Peace Corps. And so we have a very hands-on approach to helping you succeed and use your history major in all the ways possible. I have a Swiss Army knife down there at the very bottom. It looks kind of weird, I know. But that is to show off the 5 skills. We work with our professional organization. Basically, there's this group, the American Historical Association, which is the big nationwide group. And we're a part of the American Historical Association. And they've developed the 5 skills Swiss Army knife on what are the actual words you can use to describe the things you've learned as a history major in order to succeed in life. But my answer to that is always the most important thing you've learned is analytical thinking. You've learned how to take a whole bunch of information, think about it with your own independent brain, and figure out how it fits in the world that we've created and the world we've lived in. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing here, if I can do that properly. Whoops, I need to stop sharing. And I will go back to say, look at the chat, my final comments, and feel free to click on any of those links. And if you have any questions at all about history, feel free to shoot me an email. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Professor Schultz. Thank you. And then Professor Hall.
Great. So we will take a second while I share my screen. All right. So I am here to talk to you today about languages other than English language at UIC, and how your learning of languages can enhance your broader education at UIC, and why you should continue with any languages that you've studied in high school or maybe explore new ones. So the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences has a foreign language requirement. Many students may actually pass out of this requirement on the basis of placement tests, AP exams, course credit that they've already gained in high school. But we really think it's important that those who have not done this gain language skills outside of English as part of their liberal education at UIC, or that you continue with something that you've already gotten a strong foundation in, or that you use your college education as an opportunity to expand into a new language area. And here at UIC, because we are a large university, we have 14 languages that you can choose from, many of which allow you to then take the more advanced language classes that you have and channel them into a minor or a major. The minors actually complement very nicely many of the other majors at UIC, because through acquiring that minor, or through acquiring linguistic competency in these various languages, you demonstrate an interest in global communication, and interest in crossing outside of the most familiar realms with which you're usually communicating. And many students are coming to UIC multilingual already, right? You may have come from 1 or 2 more home languages, and to be able to complement that also, you already know how to learn languages and how to code switch and how to language switch in your daily life. And you can add to that by moving into another realm that might be geographically or structurally very different than the 2 or 3 languages that you may be moving through in your daily life. So definitely take a look and explore. We do cover a lot of areas of the globe with our language opportunities. I'm also going to offer you the similar enticement to Professor Reams and Professor Schultz of why do these things when you don't necessarily have to, right? Like I said, a lot of students will actually pass out of their language requirement before they even enter their courses in the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences. Or students will be able to finish those the basic language requirement within a year or 2. So what's in it for you in continuing with those languages or acquiring career. Language majors have among the highest salaries amongst the liberal arts. We can all say that, I think, across the liberal arts because of those critical thinking skills and the applicability of everything you learn to every career, not just to a career that, like Professor Reams said, has the same name as your major. Multilingual employees, whether that be your multilingualism that you're bringing from your own biography, or an enhanced multilingualism, or a multilingualism that you get through your college education. Multilingual employees earn more than monolingual peers and are in high demand, often because the language is actually useful in the job, but also often because of the flexibility, the cognitive flexibility, the social flexibility, the ability to communicate across boundaries and to different and diverse groups. And so there's also a lot of upward mobility in your career for those of you who major or minor or study extensively in the languages. You may not start with the the highest salary in the company when you begin, but check in 10 years later, and a lot of people who have studied languages or majored in minors in languages surpass their peers in job title and in salary. Frankly, being a global citizen is what one needs to be in today's world, between the internet and travel, when we get to do it again, finally, and Chicago being a city that contains the globe within itself. We are crossing language borders every time we get on the L, every time we walk down the street. And the knowledge base that your professors are drawing on when they're teaching their classes are coming from various areas of the world where English may be spoken, but is not necessarily the language that's spoken in the native environment in the home or in the schools. And so there's really no way to be separate from multiple languages in anything that you do. So you want to be one of the people who's actually in the know and has that as part of your toolkit and repertoire. Indeed, although a lot of areas in the globe do speak English because of various historical factors that have made English a language of business and of education and of a lot of formal operations, less than 5% of the world's population speaks English as a first language. So to have the kind of fluidity and facility across language realms is really to be in tune with more of humanity, to put it kind of broadly. And similar to, I would say, also the other humanities majors that are represented here, the study of the fields that come out of the languages and the study of languages produce cognitive gains that lead to, just generally more cognitive flexibility. There are all kinds of studies about later in life. Those who use multiple languages have more brain plasticity. It comes down to physiology and neurology like that. But if you want to get into the nitty-gritty practicals, those who have explored various languages or acquired various languages score better, as do the other majors that are represented here, better on tests like the LSAT to get into law school, the GRE to get into various graduate programs, the MCATs to get into medical school, and GMATs to get into business school. Even if the classes that you take do not feed into your particular major or minor, it is very much in your interest to take classes in our language programs or in the general education classes that we offer that are taught in English, but the basis of the text and the knowledge base is grounded in another sort of language or culture. These are that we have small classes and our programs are small. So you get really strong connections. We are great letter of recommendation writers in our departments because we know you. The classes are small. You can work with us one-on-one on research projects through the LAS Undergraduate Research Initiative, through the Chancellor's Undergraduate Research Initiative, and other research programs on campus. Our faculty in all of these language and culture departments are very strongly connected across campus to other units like the Honors College, the Living Learning Communities, and campus housing. And many of us are involved in the First at LAS program to support first-generation students. So you will see us elsewhere, not just in the classroom, and we can help you cultivate leadership opportunities that synergize with the other spaces that you inhabit and enjoy at UIC. Our language courses are connected to study abroad programs. We have several faculty who actually direct international study abroad programs where they go with you to the site and develop courses and work with you there on site. So not only do the courses prepare you for those programs, but they actually align with the activities that you're already doing with faculty and can enhance, again, the kind of experience that leads to an amazing letter of recommendation down the road, because you've actually had that kind of enhanced and immersive and experience expanding opportunity. Lots of students who come through our classes, be that our gen ed classes, our language classes, or our major and minor classes, are on the lists of recipients of local scholarships that we give out. We have many alumni, like Professor Reams was saying, we have many alumni who are very devoted to our departments because of the great educations they've gotten with us, and they give back, and we can give that money and those accolades right back to the current undergraduates. But we also have students who've won very prestigious, so Spanish minors, German majors and minors, French, our Asian languages, who've won awards that are the most prestigious awards that undergraduates can win, like the Rhodes Scholarship or the Wrangell Fellowship to go into a career in international affairs, Fulbright Awards, and things of that nature. So we also work with the campus Office of External Fellowships to help you convert and translate what you've learned in these undergraduate classrooms into items on an application that will be convincing for these prestigious programs. And they can be programs like the Goldwater, which is actually for the natural sciences, or the Gates Cambridge, through which many students have gone to study in England to study political science or the natural sciences. But the courses they've taken with us and the faculty they've worked with through languages and cultural studies have gotten them to those goals that are maybe a little further afield, but use the same set of skills. We also have a free peer tutoring program. There are many learning resource centers on campus, the Writing Center, the Math and Science Learning Center, and the Honors College Tutoring Center. Our students are committed to giving back to one another and to supporting one another. And peer tutoring is not just for if you're falling behind or if you're in trouble in your classes. It's a group environment to work collaboratively and in a quiet, dedicated space, a little noisy sometimes when people are working together, but a really focused space where everyone's working together on similar types of homework problems, assignments, etc. And I would encourage any of you to use, when you come to UIC, which you hopefully will do, to use the Writing Center, the Math and Science Learning Center, and the Language and Culture Learning Center free peer tutoring to help you not only achieve the grade you want, that's the sort of goal on paper, but to actually make sure that your learning is effective and that your learning will stick, so that you're able to call back on those skills and those resources that you've developed for yourself, that knowledge base, when you do graduate and go on to all these super exciting things that we've all said that you can do with these degrees. Our school, which again contains all of these languages and cultural studies programs, we like to bring people together, not just in the classroom. So we have conversation hours and coffee hours where you can practice your language skills. We show films with subtitles so you can go visit an immersive experience in a culture that maybe you aren't studying the language. We have lectures, we have peer student presentations. Undergraduates and graduate students present their research to one another in a very friendly but rigorous environment of discussion and knowledge building. And like the other departments you've heard from today, we have fantastic internship placements with various cultural entities, museums, film centers, businesses that are looking for students who cross these global boundaries in their boundaries and borders in their learning at UIC. So there's a lot going on. And even when you're not enrolled in one of our classes, you are always part of the community that is welcome to come participate in these cultural events. So we hope that we'll hear from you and see you in our classes, and I'm happy to answer any questions. My email address, I'll put it in the chat, is sahall@uic.edu. And yeah, I hope to see some of you in a German class or a film class in the fall semester.
Thank you, Professor Hall. And then Ricky, we have our amazing student leader, Ricky Rodriguez. And then Ricky will have the chance, if you can, speak about your experiences as a current UIC student, why UIC, and just some interesting facts about yourself.
Hi everyone. Uh, I'm an English major, and well, to keep it short, I find I definitely agree with all the professors, what all the professors were saying about humanities, and I find that as an English major that has a major related to the humanities, I find that there's some overlap in like what you learn, but I see that this overlap kind of I find that this overlap really enhances one's learning experience. For example, even though I'm an English major, I took an international studies class last semester, which is like a history class. I think it's called Inst 105. I think it was previously called like History 105, but I think it was changed. But I found that like learning about um, like like the history of like international studies and what but just learning about history in general was pretty interesting in regards to the cause and effects of things, and certainly what Professor Schultz was saying, like um, how where we are today came to be. And currently, I'm also taking a Spanish class, a Spanish grammar and practice class this semester, and I find that like just studying languages in general, like comparing like Spanish and English, um, and their grammar and their functions is very interesting, as well as like not only is this class like helpful in understanding or appreciating English more as a major, but it also opens up opportunities for students to consider like um, majoring um, in another language, or maybe taking on a minor. And my experiences in the English as an English major at UIC certainly has been a lot, because I've been taking two English classes each semester since I started here. And although it's a lot of reading, I could say that this reading enhances like my learning, because not only am I learning more about uh, literature and forms of writing, but as well as like a major part of it was language, or learning how to write, and well as like analyzation and writing, and just seeing like bigger picture or a deeper understanding of of the literature I was reading. And it's very interesting to be a uh, English major, because there's a lot of ways that I could apply it. And currently, I'm actually searching for a potential another major, so I could double major. I I know I could do this because, well, since coming to UIC, I transferred a lot of my credits from high school, so that gives me a lot of leeway to actually search for the majors and minors that I could actually apply, and perhaps enhance my English major and vice versa. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Ricky. And thank you all for presenting your fabulous slides on your department, and it's just amazing, just everything that y'all do for our students. And Ricky is really the prime example of of what y'all do. So thank you so much for that. And then I know we're about to finish in about a minute. However, for students here, please feel free to ask any questions that you may have for our professors or for Ricky. You could either ask them here in the chat box, or you're always more than welcome to unmute your mics and ask any questions that you may have. But I know while you are all, for any student who's kind of preparing, your questions, I think I could probably start out with the first question. And probably some students are just, curious. And maybe if y'all could just kind of hype them, your programs, why should students enroll in your classes? Why should students enroll in your major or enroll your program as a minor? And whoever wants to start off with that answer for that question.
I think there's a question in the chat.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes. So we have a student. My name is Natalie. Hello, Natalie. I think my career goal is to become an English/French professor. So what kind of classes would I have to take, and what kind of degree would I have to get at UIC to get there?
UIC is actually a great place for that particular goal because I think there's such a strong affinity amongst the disciplines that are represented here, but amongst the disciplines in the humanities generally. In fact, we have one student who was a double major in French. Did you ever have her, Sarah? Or no, you wouldn't have. Jessica Smetana, I think. She was actually featured in the New York Times last year, but she was a French and English double major. And she went on to get a PhD. She's now working on a PhD in French, I think, at NYU. But I guess the best advice is something that that I think Professor Schultz mentioned, which is just be strategic about how you take your gen ed requirements, and take as many gen ed requirements at the 200 level as you can, because those can actually count. So you want to give yourself the space to explore in the first year, but you also want to be able to get the most out of that exploration. So, that's one piece of advice I'd give you. Take gen eds that can be useful in those potential, especially if you want to double major, because then the time schedule is sort of tight. But yeah, use your gen ed strategically.
Yeah, and let me add one thing as well, Natalie. When you apply to so in order to become a professor, if that's your goal, which you say it is, you'll need to get a PhD more than likely, which is after you get your bachelor's, you go on to graduate school. And in order to get into a great graduate school, letters of good grades in your major, of course, but then letters of recommendation are very important. And I think our English and our French, and of course our history, we all have upper division classes that allow you to do research. And so when you get that letter of recommendation from somebody you've worked really closely on, they'll send that letter of recommendation to a PhD program at Princeton or wherever, and that letter will be gold. So not only be strategic in your gen ed, and Professor Reams is exactly right, but as you get further along in your major, make sure you're doing research and working closely with faculty at UIC who can help you onto the next step, because we're here to groom you to succeed in however it is you define success. And so take advantage of that. We have to beg students, take advantage of what we're here for. And so it sounds like you're primed to do that, and I would encourage you to do that. Can I take the next question, Priscilla, which says, Professor Schultz, would I be able to send you an email to find a time to meet one-on-one to talk about being a history major at UIC? Transfer college just down the street from me, focus on Russian and Soviet studies. And the answer is absolutely yes, please do. And even, I don't know if you know this or not, but we actually have in the whole country, we have one of the best. I see Professor Hall nodding because she knows what I'm about to say. We have one of the best faculty in Soviet and Russian and Slavic studies. So you've come to the right spot, whether you knew it or not. And we have faculty who can help you. And not only will they help you, we also have developed a cross-cultural program where we actually send students just like you to Russia to actually spend time there and meet other faculty and meet other students there. So yes, send me a note and I will open up all these doors for you, because this is the best place to be.
Thank you. And then we also see a student that said that's the main reason why they picked UIC. So, woo, love that. So again, for any other questions, students, please feel free to ask in the chat box, unmute yourselves, whatever it is. But if you don't have any other questions, we really appreciate y'all coming to our session. And we are very, very excited and proud of all of you for your acceptance here at UIC. Should you have any questions for our professors, for Ricky, please don't hesitate to email them. They did put their information in the chat box below. But should you have any other questions, please don't hesitate to actually email us at lasinfo@uic.edu, and I will actually put that in the chat box below. That is the recruitment and engagement email address, and that right there, I could always direct your email to the professors. So again, thank you so much, and we hope that you have a great rest of your day. I will actually stop this recording, and should you have any other questions, please feel free to hang out, or if not, thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody. And thanks, Ricky, for being the superstar that you are.
Yeah, nice
Thank
to
you.
finally meet you, Ricky.
Nice to finally meet you too. Thank you, everyone.